they are misleading their consumers. And instead of making their products more healthy, they offer a quick fix in food supplements, which isn't a real fix.
Follow the money.
This is the podcast of the European investigative newsroom, Follow the Money. I'm your host, Emma de Chatinier, recording from Brussels as usual. And I'm joined by Follow the Money reporter and my co-host Alexander Fanta in Vienna. Hi, Alex.
Hello, good morning.
In this episode, we're looking at the booming market for health supplements in Europe. Big food companies like Nestlé and Unilever are now selling vitamins, powders, and gummies that are supposed to make us feel better, fitter, and younger. The industry is huge, worth 87 billion euros today. And it's going to get only bigger. It's set to pass 120 billion by 2030. But a Follow the Money investigation found that almost half of these health supplements make claims that aren't allowed under EU rules. And still, the products remain on shelves and are sold to millions of Europeans every day. Alex, do you take any supplements or do you strictly stay away from those?
Well, I have to admit to, having a certain tendency to buy these things. I'm like, 1 week it might be turmeric, like everyone says, like, oh, use as much as possible as curcuma in your food, and I will do it. And then the other day I will run to the shops and buy vitamin B pills. I feel I'm not alone with this. It's like a lot of people in our generation really buy into the, what you might call the yoga lifestyle. So, it's more about the fit feels better. It's like the placebo effect is measurable,
And to dive deeper into the story, we're joined by investigative journalist Irene van den Berg, who uncovered how big food health supplements mislead European consumers. Welcome, Irene.
Hi.
To start with, could you just share a little bit about what exactly you found in your investigation?
This all started with an investigation also for Follow the Money in the tobacco industry. And the tobacco industry is selling cigarettes on the one hand, and lung cancer medications and inhalers for asthma and COPD patients on the other hand. So they're making money twice. And we talked about that with Dutch health insurances. And they said, well, the tobacco industry isn't the only industry that does that. The food industry is doing the same. And they told us about Nestlé, which is selling weight loss products. And that was the starting point also for this investigation. My colleague Mathilde and I discovered that food companies are breaking the rules on health claims on a massive scale. Out of the 430 supplements we investigated, almost 200 products had false claims on them. And that means that the claims are not allowed in the EU. Nestlé was the biggest offender. We found out that around 130 claims on the products of Nestlé were not allowed in the EU.
So we're really not just talking about small businesses here, we're talking about huge multinationals.
Yes, the supplement industry is very big in Europe. It's 87 billion euro industry in Europe alone.
If you compare that to another big industry, the entire cosmetics industry in 2024 had a turnover of 104 billion, just a bit more than health supplements, according to an industry group. So like putting that in perspective, thinking of, people have been using cosmetics for thousands of years, and then this health supplement industry comes and is almost equal in size. I think that's quite impressive.
And Irene, in doing this investigation, what shocked you the most in these findings?
On the one hand, the boldness of the claims. We saw that Unilever is investing in some kind of gummies. They are from influencer Kourtney Kardashian, and they claim that they burn your belly fat. And there are also products on the market that claim that they support your brain or can get you through menopause. All kinds of those claims. So that shocked me, and also the large scale on which the false claims are used. Yeah, the claims are used by big companies like Nestlé, Unilever, Danone, and they also have legal departments, so they should know that these claims are not allowed. It's not always clear that a food company sells the product. So the product from Kourtney Kardashian is an investment from Unilever, but you don't see Unilever on the package. So people most of the time don't know that the food companies are behind all those supplements.
And to understand better how this whole story that you uncovered is actually possible, it's important to take a bit of a step back at this point. So let's say a company wants to bring a supplement onto, for example, the Dutch market. And what determines if the claims on the product are allowed or not?
The European Food Safety Authority has made a list of claims that are allowed. And you have a self-regulatory body, and they can also check for a company if a claim is allowed. And then you can bring it on the market and you can put the claim online or on the package of the product.
And you just mentioned that the European authority has a list of claims that are allowed or not. And what kind of claims should I be thinking about then?
Like calcium contributes to a normal muscle functioning.
That would be allowed.
That would be allowed, yeah. But what is not allowed is calcium cures osteoporosis. That's a medical claim.
But then if I do have a product with a claim such as calcium cures osteoporosis, I assume that means I cannot bring that into the market with that claim, right?
It's not allowed, but you can do that. You can wait till you get a warning or a fine from the national watchdog. Yeah, it's the same. You are not allowed to drive 140 miles an hour on the highway, but you can do that.
And it's basically you're bringing a product to the market saying this is really healthy for you. Then you have to retract the claim, but you don't have to retract the product. You can sell a health product without any scientific evidence that it's actually healthy, which seems a bit of a contradiction, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true. That's why it happens so often. And the companies also use very vague claims. So they say that something supports your bones or helps your bones instead of cures, or so they can use words that are allowed or are not on the list.
Okay, because supports, helps, that can mean a lot of things. What are the biggest loopholes that companies use to keep selling products with questionable or even simply untrue claims?
There is a list of on-hold claims around the 2008, 2010. That's a big loophole. And the European Food Safety Authority checked thousands of claims, but they found out that only 5% of those claims were backed by science. And then the European Commission came into action because the companies weren't so happy about that, because they couldn't make those claims anymore. And now there's a list of around 1,500 claims which are on hold since 2010, which have to be checked by the EFSA. But meanwhile, the companies can still use them, and they have to state on their package that the claim still has to be checked by the EFSA.
Something that consumers won't exactly notice in the very fine small print of the package of the product.
Exactly. There is a small sentence, but you don't know what it means. And maybe you think, oh, that's great. The European Union is looking at it. So maybe it just gives you confidence that it's a good product.
It actually almost adds this element of authority, like, oh, the EU is looking into it.
Yeah, that's a big loophole. Yeah, and I also think the biggest loophole is that the national watchdogs can only check the claims afterwards, and they are understaffed. So the companies can wait till the national watchdog checks the claim. And the fines are not very high. There are about 10,000 of euros, but for a company like Nestlé, that's nothing.
So there's basically no real incentive for these companies to stop doing this.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
The companies might argue that just because a claim isn't proven scientifically doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that there's no empirical evidence for it. So, I mean, should we cut the companies, trying to improve people's health a bit more slack?
Now, the irony is that these companies are selling unhealthy products on the one hand, like Nestlé is selling chocolates and frozen pizzas, and they are selling supplements on the other hand. And those supplements claim that they make people healthy. So they are misleading their consumers. And instead of making their products more healthy, they offer a quick fix in food supplements.
Which isn't even a real fix.
Which isn't a real fix.
So do damage with one product and then sell another product to undo the damage.
Yes.
Double
and
profit.
You make money twice.
And did you see any impact from your story already?
Yeah, we mapped all the products, the health products in which the food industry invested. And we showed the list to the Dutch Consumer Authority, who helps companies to check their claims. And they told us that half of the claims are not allowed in the EU. So they can just now go ahead and go to the companies and give them fines. But we don't know if they have done that yet.
You already did the work for them in a way. They don't have to check it anymore.
We did. They should have done this. They should have made a list and checked if the claims were true, but they are understaffed. So we did it for them.
So who is ultimately to blame in this story? Is it the companies, the regulators, the self-regulatory bodies? Who can we point the finger to?
At first, the companies, because they are misleading their consumers, and consumers are buying products they don't need. And sometimes they're even buying products that are harmful for them.
Why aren't companies that, kind of consistently, systematically make wrong claims about their own products being punished more severely?
Because the national watchdogs are understaffed. They don't see the claims. And it's such a big market. There are thousands of products on the market and they are sold online. And I think the national watchdogs don't have a clue about how many products there are and what claims there are on the market. I think that's a big problem.
But should we also blame, and also consumers themselves to blame for, being led like sheep into buying tons and tons of these useless products?
Consumers are falling for the trap of the quick fix. They should eat healthy. They should go and exercise, but they think they can buy health. But yeah, there are big companies with big marketing departments. So they are misleading the consumers.
Alex is our lobbying expert. Do you think lobbying also plays a role here?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you look at just the level of meetings the food industry has with the Commission, making sure that regulation isn't tightened, that we don't see more attention from regulators on the enforcing the regulation that there is. I think food companies are intensely nervous about, kind of having more pressure on them in this space. But I think so far they have done a quite good job avoiding some of that scrutiny. So I think, stories such as yours kind of increase public awareness. So there might be more, kind of pressure in coming years. But at the moment, I think that the food companies can be quite happy with the status quo.
Is it also something you came across in your research, Irene, this lobbying aspect?
We looked at the lobbying against the on-hold claims, and there are some lobby organizations which have members in food companies that are against checking the on-hold claims. So that's why they're still on hold. That's one lobbying aspect we found.
And we have touched upon this a little bit already. What does it mean for consumers if companies sell these misleading products?
The most important thing, I think, is that they are buying products they don't need. If you eat healthy, you don't need food supplements. You need food supplements if you are pregnant or a top athlete or if you are old. Then you can take food supplements. If you are eating healthy, then you don't need them. So you're spending money on products you don't need. And sometimes they are very expensive. And the second thing, I'm afraid that people stop doing things to live healthy, like stop eating chocolates or frozen pizza and buying supplements that claim they will burn your belly fat.
And that's one thing. We have products that claim to do things for you that they don't really do, which is misleading consumers. But it doesn't stop there. In some cases, it can actually be harmful, right?
Yeah. For instance, supplements with vitamin E can cause nausea or headaches. And also supplements can interfere with medications, so they can be harmful. Or people don't go to a doctor. Maybe they think, oh, I can buy a pill online and then I don't have to go to a doctor, or they wait to go to a doctor. That's also a problem.
And what we said, this is also connected to, say, Instagram influencers. It's very much a generational thing as well. And what does this story tell us about society and our attitudes towards health and well-being?
That a lot of people believe in a quick fix. And that's also what beauty bloggers are promising, that people don't have to eat healthy or do exercise, but they just can buy health in a jar. And that's what we like to believe. And the food companies like Unilever are also focusing on younger generations. So Gen Z and millennials, because they know they are vulnerable for those kind of marketing. So they pay influencers to promote these products, and they do, and people look at it.
And I also think that that's part of a wider social trend. You have this kind of, self-improvement lifestyle products that people just love to buy. And I mean, as we discussed before, I mean, I myself can't take myself out of that, but like everything these days seems to be infused with some kind of health claim, and I think we're just obsessed with that. I think, people, millennials, Gen Z people seem to be particularly susceptible to it. So that means the market will only widen as we grow older and have more purchasing power, right?
Yeah. Unilever told their shareholders that they now see health as a lifestyle. That's how Unilever views it. They say your health is your own responsibility, and you can be responsible by buying our product.
Thank you so much for this very interesting conversation, Irene. Alex and I will be back soon for another episode. And you can find the full story by Irene on ftm.eu and in the show notes.
You've listened to the podcast of Follow the Money. Our watchdog journalism is funded by our members. Subscribe and support European investigative journalism.